Hi, I'm Romi.
And I'm Nicole.
We are two businesswomen, two colleagues, two friends who had an idea and decided to do something with it. Over the past 2 years, we've built the Daily Drip, a media platform and community for the modern South Florida businesswoman.
From Palm Beach to South Beach, we've built an audience of thousands of local business owners, CEOs, founders, executives, and more. And we did it 100% organically.
Whether it's through our blog, weekly newsletter, social media, events, or even this podcast, our mission is to offer a daily drop of inspiration as you pursue your dreams.
People ask us all the time how we did it and why we did it. Join us as we bring you along our journey and the journeys of so many other incredible local businesswomen here on Her Pursuit. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Her Pursuit. I'm Nicole. I'm co-founder of The Daily Drip. I'm here with Romi, my partner in crime, and we have a very special episode lined up for you guys. Today, we are joined by Elizabeth, who is our brand director. And the inspiration for this episode really came out of one of our strategy calls. We have some exciting expansions happening in the Daily Drip this year. And as we were sitting strategizing the marketing of them and the campaign strategy, it dawned on all of us that we should really save this for a podcast episode because I think there's a lot to be learned from this process. And so we thought we'd share it with all of you. So Elizabeth, welcome to Her Pursuit.
Hi. Okay, well, for those of you who don't know me, thank you for the intro. So I do the marketing and brand direction for The Daily Drip, and I'm owner and founder of Jude the agency. So I work with a lot of brands and I do this kind of thing. And when we were talking about what we call The Daily Drip 2.0, my original question was, what's really going to be the main differentiator between what it is now and what it's going to become? And so as we started exploring that, I realized this needs to be an episode because anytime they start going off and all the juicy stuff comes out, I'm like, wait, pause. They called me a referee earlier. And it's true because I'm like, stop. This is content right here. I don't want to know. Save it for the mic.
She keeps us honest.
No, but we did talk about it, and then we decided this would be a great podcast episode. So we're flipping the script today, and I'm going to be interviewing Romi and Nicole all about the Daily Drip, its origins, where it's at now, and the new generation of it. I think we should start out with what was the Daily Drip's original business model, because I came in, I haven't been with you guys since the beginning, but every time I hear little stories and anecdotes, I'm like, what was going on back then?
We were rogue. No. Well, the Daily Drip really started as an education platform. So I built my consulting firm through teaching. I would go to different co-working spaces. I would go to different professional associations and teach about modern business development and how critical a hybrid approach is. And it was wild to me, the amount of business owners that completely didn't even understand social media. They didn't know where to begin. They didn't know how to harness it. They were hiring social media managers, but they weren't getting the results and the outcomes. And so Romi and I were talking about how impactful my sessions were with so many of the business owners that we were meeting. And we were like, we really need to create a place where we can teach this to more people so business owners can really understand how to grow today and what social media, the role of social media in their growth strategies. And so originally, the Daily Drip was a community for business owners to learn about hybrid business development, social media, personal branding, and thought leadership. Well, over the course of the pandemic, 2020, we were doing these virtually. We engaged with something crazy, right? 400 businesswomen over the course of that year. People were really desperate to get digital because the world had shut down, right? So this gaping hole became bigger. It became a canyon for a lot of businesses. And it was interesting how the ones that really didn't have a handle on it, by 2020, that was the nail in the coffin for them. And so the ones that were really trying to make it a priority and integrate that into their business growth planning and marketing, they fared a little bit better. So we created the Daily Drip after 2020. So fast forward, we had a year of about 400 business owners attending our workshops.
So the workshops were separate technically from what the Daily Drip really is. It was kind of something you guys were doing almost on your own.
Yeah, we were just kind of hosting events and putting it out there virtually on social media. We would create Eventbrite links with a Zoom link, and I would just present and speak on these topics. And Romi would invite all her clients, all her network. And yeah, over 2020, we had 400 people that participated.
Everything Nicole was doing professionally was something that I, as somebody that was working with business owners, I was like, oh my God, you have to hear Nicole. Oh my God, you need to meet Nicole. So it was this perfect marriage of me meeting with the people that needed what she was providing. So she's like, I got it. You just make sure they show up. And it sort of like, that was really how organically it started.
And it's funny because a funny little anecdote story was by October of 2020, I had rallied so many clients to work with me that I actually called Romi and said, I'll give you all my presentations and decks. You should take this and run with it. Like, good luck. I'll be here to support you. And Romi was like, no way. You sit down and figure out how you're going to be consulting and doing this with me because I can't do this without you. And I really think we have something here. We have something here. So we spent November and December of 2020 really trying to figure out what we had. And what we thought we had was a great opportunity to create a media platform. The idea was if we could find thought leaders, people who are speaking, people who are creating content, podcasters, people with big social media followings that specialized in business strategy, whether that was tax strategy, whether it was marketing strategy, whether it was sales, whether it was team development. If we could go and find the influencers in each of those business categories, we will invite them to be thought leaders on the Daily Drip. And in exchange for them sharing their content with us on our media platform, they'll basically be getting advertising benefits. We'll market and promote their services, their products, their events. And so we really looked at it like we'll create the platform and we'll go find other educators besides Nicole, encourage them to come, and in exchange for their time, we're going to sell them ad space pretty much.
So it's an advertising platform.
Correct.
And we also liked the idea of the digital platform, or felt passionate about it, because having come out of COVID and being working moms especially, everyone was reevaluating how they were spending their time. And so the question was, how do we make sure that what we're providing is accessible to people with crazy schedules? So this was for the business person that could get that content as well, like while they're in the car, in the lineup, or on their time, rather than having to show up at a fixed place at a fixed time.
Or like on a Zoom link for a master class, that kind of thing. You wanted to be able to put it somewhere where you can access it at any time.
Yeah, professional women typically have a lot of constraints when it comes to networking because they're mothers. So it's hard to get out to events at night or sacrifice working hours to be at an event. So the idea of providing digital content that could help the business owner and remove the consulting process, or at least delay it, right? Help someone and meet them where they are, where they can access and read an article while they're putting their kid to bed or in the morning with their coffee before the house wakes up. That was really important to us. And so that's why this was a way for us to reach a lot of people, provide a lot of value, and the way we were going to get compensated was by finding thought leaders, existing thought leaders, and encouraging them to come and be featured as the subject matter expert on our platform. And so, yeah, it was pretty much an advertising media business model.
So talk to me about that turning point that you told me about the other day, where you said that you started talking to the thought leaders and you realized that they were here for something quite different.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we started with 5 thought leaders, and Romi and I were 2. Yeah, Romi and I were 2 of them. So we had 3 thought leaders, and that quickly went to 8. And we were really covering business subject matter strictly, right?
Also, when you got these original thought leaders, what's the timeline? This is 2020,
2021. Yeah. So we went into 2021 with a website. Yep. We went in with an LLC, a formalized business structure, And so I would say by March or April, we had our first 5. And then I would say by June, we had our first 8. And we kind of stayed at 8 because, again, remember, we wanted to just check each subject matter box. So once we had someone covering law was taken care of. Once we had someone covering tax, that box checked. We don't need anyone else. So we stayed at 8 for a while. And so I would say from June 2021 until about fall of that year, we became really tight because we would collaborate together on how we were going to deliver our content. What does our audience need to know? How do we present it to them? How do we make it compelling? We were helping each other on coming up with ideas based on interactions we were having with our clients, in our network, with our referral partners. And so we would have this almost like brainstorm session where we would come up with what were we going to provide the value for now. And so we got a lot out of that. And it was, Romi and I quickly started to see that in and of itself was an experience aside from the advertising and the visibility and all of that. What also started to happen was some of the thought leaders were introducing us to colleagues or friends that were business owners and served people not in the business space. They were health and wellness professionals. They were mental health professionals. They were nutritionists. They were stylists. They were all these things. And Romi and I began to see opportunity where we could not just be a business resource platform, but a lifestyle platform for the modern businesswoman. So we thought, what if we had thought leaders, that really kind of covered all current event topics and all kinds of subjects and things about, how hard it is to juggle parenting and career and all these things, your relationships and being healthy and feeling good and all the stuff. So we were like, okay, we need to go from 8 to, let's say, 16. Like we built out our next lifestyle round of categories for thought leaders. So fast forward, we go from 8 to 16. Okay. And we're doing these brainstorm sessions. And magic is literally happening in these sessions. I can't explain it any other way.
To this day, it's still my favorite day of the month.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten the pleasure of being in these rooms, and it's so much fun to see everybody collaborate and talk, even now with the way the contributor meetings look, but I can only imagine in the early days.
It's really remarkable what happens with this particular group of women, and it just gets better with each one that comes on board. It just gets more dynamic, more enriching. It's amazing.
Needless to say, we were pumped, and we went into 2022 with 16 thought leaders that were geared up to provide value in whatever their area of expertise was. Content was great. Everything was great. Romi and I were still operating like a media platform. We were still considering a single face representative for each piece of subject matter and advertising them as such. That was still the process. It was in 2022 that we lost our first couple. They did not renew because they had lifestyle changes. One moved, business was booming, one didn't have the time commitment. And so Romi and I thought, okay, let's survey our thought leaders and see what would make it easier for them to participate. Is it necessary for them to be South Florida specific, or what? Do we need to have maybe more than one person representing a category? So we did a survey, and the survey was all based on what advertising benefits they loved the most. And then I had one empty field box at the bottom that said, what's something you'd like to see more of? And what's something you'd like to see less of? And all of the feedback almost across the board was that they loved the community, that those monthly sessions where we would brainstorm and get creative was the thing they valued the most about being a part of the Daily Drip. There was no issue around competition in category. Nobody seemed to care to be one of several thought leaders in tax and accounting. No one seemed to care to be one of several marketers, and me, myself included. I loved working with other marketing professionals.
And same for me. When we started, I was still a financial professional, and we were bringing on other financial professionals. And I think that is also part of what our community is about, though, is abundance and not scarcity. Like, we're very much rooted in that.
Abundance mindset over scarcity mindset. And that's how everybody's able to collaborate so seamlessly.
And that was the other thing. That's another core value, was collaborating. We really encourage people to collaborate. And sometimes that would happen with adjacent industries, but sometimes it would happen with people within the same industry because they specialized in different things or they niched. And again, I'll say it, it was literally magic would happen in that room every month.
I think it's so remarkable, like a setback. You decided, let's just listen. Like, let's not sit here and make a whole new business plan based off what we think we want or what we think this is supposed to be. Let's actually listen to our client, our community, etc., and see what they want. And I think a lot of businesses lose touch over that.
That's been a lot of our process, though. And Nicole and I are extremely hyper, like, I guess, diligent about regular lock-ins and check-ins to say, like, to kind of evaluate what's going on. We don't rush anything.
No.
Like, everything, we take our time because we really care and want to execute it in the best possible way. That doesn't mean that some of the things we try don't work out, but it does mean that we really thought it through.
Every product, everything that you guys bring into the
quality in
mix. Yeah, everything you bring into the mix, you're always bringing it in, thinking about what do they want, how would they get value from this, etc.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things. We always make decisions based on why did we start this? Who are we serving? And what feedback are we getting from them? We rely so heavily on feedback that the Daily Drip is actually a product of feedback today. It is everything, all the new developments and all the new iterations and events and the podcast and all these things are based on feedback and requests in those surveys and conversations that we have with them. Even in the survey, one of the other pieces of feedback that they wanted was to get together more than once a month. They didn't want to have to wait until the meeting for us all to get together. So then we started incorporating luncheons, happy hours. In fact, just last year, we did our first beach walk, right? And so it quickly dawned on us that, wait a minute, yes, we have a media platform, but we're more than that. We're a community. We have members. We have a membership, and we need to change the way we're analyzing our business completely because an advertising model doesn't work for us. Yes, we have content and we create content, but we don't create it through journalism, through copywriting, and through traditional ad sales space. We create content through thought leadership, and that for us has only worked in community. So that's when we realized we need to look at this business in a whole new way and evaluate it in a whole new way.
Why do you think community has stood out so much? Like, think back then when you had those 16 members, why do you think community was so major for them?
I think there's one of the elements, I think, to that is that what everyone shares in common, whether they're entrepreneurs or their role is entrepreneurial in nature, it can be very isolating and very lonely. And I think that what started to happen was this very safe space where we all felt comfortable enough to say, like, this is what I'm struggling with in my business. And I've been having a hard time doing X, Y, Z. And this sort of, even when we're talking about topics, what we're going to write about, all of this kind of conversation was so honest and so real.
Organic needs of our own. That's how the content was derived.
Everyone was really supporting one another, but it made it so much less lonely. Yeah. We're lucky because we have each other, and it's still got its challenges, but these are a lot of people that operate in a very sort of like a silo in their business. And so to have other people that understood, if not their business, what their pains were, like the struggles of growing the business, getting home on time for this, whatever the case may be.
I feel like so many other, like, I guess, quote unquote, networking groups, you're not there. Sometimes you're like, I'm not going to sit here and air out my dirty laundry. I'm here to make connections. But you guys never had that tonality. No. You guys were always about, like, let's be friends in every room.
Correct. Yeah, we came together to create. Referrals and business was like a byproduct of the relationship, but we didn't come together for the purpose of networking. We came together for the purpose of creating content to serve a community of business owners. But I think I would add to that with the loneliness and the isolation. I think another big reason why community is critical for this is because we are not content creators. We are professionals. creating content. And if you've never created content before, if you've never been on video, if you've never done a podcast like we're doing right now, it's incredibly intimidating. Writing blog articles, putting yourself out there as an authority, as an expert on something, incredibly intimidating. And the imposter syndrome is real. So outside of the technical acumen that the skill gap kind of created, where it's, I don't know what apps to use to make good content. I don't know about a scheduler app. I don't understand how social media works. I don't even have a platform yet or an account. Outside of all that, you could learn all that and still not create. And you're not creating because you're afraid of what are people going to think? Am I going to look dumb? Am I going to sound dumb? And so when you're in community creating, there's this safe space to be yourself, and there's this community of people who are trying to figure it out too. Titles don't matter when it comes to content creation. A CEO could be sitting right next to a startup, and neither one of them could have a social media presence and be doing all of this for the first time and feeling the exact same nerves and the exact same discomfort. And there's a bond that kind of forms in that. And so I also think creativity and content creation collaboration is necessary for that process. You get inspiration out of that.
Talk to me about why women, why just like exclusively female contributors. Talk to me about why you think that brings value, or maybe what the thought process was behind that.
Interesting. So it's funny how even that's kind of evolved, but it started out with women, for women, by women, because the co-working space where we first got these off the ground, these initial education workshops, was a co-working space for women.
So it really wasn't like necessarily like, we're just going to do this for girls. It was just a byproduct of the situation.
I will say that if you look at any chamber or any professional association, there will be some sort of forum that's for women. And I think that is just born out of the fact that a lot of these industries were formerly male-dominated. And so generations before us didn't necessarily feel seen or heard or respected. And so they did a lot better networking and business development and career growth with other women like them. There was kind of like this safe space and a sense of camaraderie. And so the way the Daily Drip came to be for women was also born out of their unique needs. Like a working mother's schedule looks very different, feels very different. And I think while we are the Daily Drip for South Florida businesswomen, I think at the end of the day, we are also the Daily Drip for working mothers, right? The digital component allows people access on their time, when they want to read it, when they want to watch it, when they want to see it. And that's particularly conducive for women.
So you originally did it because of the co-working space, but moving away then from the co-working space, explain to me, why did you continue it that way? What did you start to notice? Explain to me the story. What did you begin to notice once you moved out of that co-working space and you had all these women in a room?
I'll say, I can say personally, I think there's a couple of things. One is that I think that women operate and do business different. The way they communicate, the way they network, the way they do sales, it is just a fact. They just do business differently. I also think that our lives as women are not compartmentalized the way at least in my experience, I see with men. So our day is a constant toggle between responsibilities and work. It is not like you get to work at 9 and then you don't do anything until like your whole day, you're answering for whatever other reason and things are moving back and forth. So I think that there's certain things in how we operate that just as a gender, we share commonalities. Right. I think that, and I also felt like women were sharing in a more real way about what they were experiencing as business professionals that they would not necessarily feel comfortable doing in the presence of men. Mm-hmm. And because there's an element there where when you offer up that sort of, I'm struggling and you're being honest about it, people, the assumption that, well, I must be bad at my job. You must not be good at what you do if you're having trouble finding clients. You must not be good at what you do if you can't, insert there. There was something to be said for doing it strictly with women, that there was a more comfortable and open communication that was happening, that people were getting.
I think it also kind of organically we found our niche, because as a media platform, you have an audience, right? And the audience is all of you. And we all share commonalities. And so our audience niched down where we weren't just talking to any business owner or any business leader. We were talking to a female business leader who has a whole different set of challenges and curiosities and concerns and goals and ambitions. And so in picking a niched audience, we were able to really speak to her in a powerful way. And because we all were her in some way, shape, or form, it comes out incredibly authentic and resonating, because I've had people come up to us and say that they resonate with a particular thought leader, either her tone or her voice or what she's struggling with, and they kind of identify. And I also think it goes back to that whole imposter syndrome that comes with creating content and putting it out on social media. I think the safety of being among women helps curb that. And it also, we have just like this sisterhood. Yeah. It's become like this grown-up sorority that we didn't intend to create.
And I think that we also like made foundationally a part of it that support is paramount.
Yeah.
Like how we show up for each other, whether it's a comment in the WhatsApp chat that's just cheering somebody on, or something that they say or they reach out, whatever the case may be. But like at the very, like it's even outlined as part of your commitment is just being the kind of person that shows up for other women and supports them in a way that they feel supported.
You guys built something so firmly on the aspect of vulnerability, really, when it comes to creating content, when it comes to being a woman, when it comes to being a mother. Like all of this goes back to vulnerability, and that's, I think, what connects everybody so strongly. I always say what's most vulnerable is most relatable. That's true in content, but it's even true within this community.
Our culture within the Daily Drip is incredibly value driven, and vulnerability is one of those values. A culture of support is one of those values. And I think being motivated by impact are another one of those values. You will find that every single thought leader is driven by those three things.
I feel like we've given everybody a really good overview of really what the Daily Drip is all about at its core and how it started. But now it's the Daily Drip 2.0.
Yes, we're expanding.
So let's talk about it. What is the difference between what we just talked about and what the Daily Drip 2.0 is actually bringing to the table?
So I don't know that there's as much of a difference as there is an expansion. So everything that we've arrived to is staying. I think we've finally found where we belong, and I think we belong in community. That is the right definition of what the Daily Drip is. It's a community, whether it's a listener or a reader, or whether it's a thought leader creating the content with us. But over the course of the last year, Romi and I have identified a new woman. And this is the woman who aspires to be a thought leader, wants very much to be on the stage, wants the mic, wants to share what she has inside of her, and she wants to share it in the name of helping others. But she doesn't feel yet like a thought leader. She's not quite there yet. So the main difference, I would say, is that the original Daily Drip was really catering to that person who self-identified as a thought leader. They were actively speaking, actively teaching. They had a robust social media presence. They already were there. And so Romi and I really sat down and thought, after meeting so many of these women and having enough of them come up to us and say, I love what you're doing. I would love to join, but I'm a terrible writer. I would love to join, but oh my God, the idea of being on camera makes me want to throw up. I want to be there, but I don't know what I would say. That's probably the one that hurts me the most, is like, I don't know what I would say, or I don't know if anyone cares to hear it. And so we decided we needed to make an opportunity for those people to join the Daily Drip without the pressure of having to be a full-fledged thought leader for the Daily Drip, creating the content for the Daily Drip. Some people are still becoming, and there's a place for them too in the Daily Drip. And so in this new expanded membership option, those people will be able to come and learn what the thought leaders already know.
Yeah, so originally the Daily Drip was about amplifying the voices of women business leaders. And what we recognized was that we needed to create a space for people who were still looking to find their voice.
So let's talk about the tiers. We talked about this in our meeting. So
I thought you meant like tears like crying. I'm like, are we going to start crying now?
I think within the first like couple months of working with you guys, I saw you both cry. So I was like, this is how vulnerable we are at the Daily Drip.
Oh my God, a meeting does not happen without tears.
But no, I'm talking about tiered system, or let's talk about the levels within the Daily Drip 2.0, because it's no longer just one thing. There are like 3 different levels now to this system. So let's talk about that. Break it down for me. Nicole, you can take that away.
Sure. So the first tier is really all of you listening. It's anyone in the audience that finds value in the content we're creating. So it's any listener, it's any viewer of our videos, it's any reader of our blog articles. That is very much a member of our community. And Romi and I consider that, we hold that sacred, because you are all the people we're serving. And we work very hard to make all this content free and accessible for a reason. And it's because we do care about making impact to the community at large. The next tier would be the new membership tier, which we're rolling out this year. And that is really dedicated to the person who would like to become a thought leader and would like to learn the best practices, the fundamentals, when it comes to what their core message would be, how it connects to their service, how they will build their digital presence, what they will stand for, their personal brand, and their leadership within the marketplace.
Joining this tier, what can they expect to experience?
They can expect to experience a program designed to meet them where they are. So we're going to have a lot of micro training sessions, a lot of recorded training sessions that cover things from event marketing 101, or how to design your event graphics, for those of you who want to host workshops, webinars, and masterclasses. Podcasting 101. So you want to start a podcast. Here's everything you need to know. Best practices for engagement on social media. Best practices for growing your platform on social media. What makes good content and how to start creating good content for your platforms. And most importantly, though, how to connect your content plan to your business plan. We should be doing this intentionally with outcomes in mind. And whether that outcome is to sell a product or whether that outcome is to create impact of some kind, the content needs to be designed in a way that that outcome is fulfilled.
Got it. So let's talk about now the upper tier, which is the full-fledged thought leader. What does that have to bring to the table? I know we kind of already talked about thought leaders, but what is the main distinguishment between tier 2 and then the actual thought leader?
So the actual thought leaders, which is the only tier we've had thus far, are people who are creating content for the Daily Drip. They are the ones writing the articles you're reading every Thursday in the newsletter or that you're reading on social media. They're the ones participating in the podcast. They're the ones on video. So they're the ones on stage, speaking and in panel seats. And so those women are still learning. Make no mistake, this is an ever-evolving process of getting better, and especially as social media and the internet and tools and technologies change and evolve and trends come and go, you're ever learning and ever creating and ever experimenting.
They're still learning, but they're ready for their close-up.
They're ready for their close-up. Yeah, they are creating what we have. What we're excited to bring about as we move forward into this Daily Drip 2.0 is to have curated events and programming designed to bring both of those tiers together and bring our audience together.
Of course, because the goal is always to move up to the tiers. I mean, we want them all to be thought leaders eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the hope, like the dream would be that somebody starts as a member of our audience and is so inspired that they decide that they have a voice worth finding, and they become a member of the Daily Drip thought leadership community. And then they find that voice and they become a Daily Drip thought leader. I think Romi and I will feel our mission is fulfilled if we can have that happen more and more and more.
And I think that that's always been sort of part of all of this, is how much we pour into the thought leaders so that they can continue to pour into the community at large, and it becomes like a whole cycle, right? Like it's pretty remarkable to be a part of the journey of watching these women grow and evolve and do really pretty epic, amazing stuff.
Yeah, and it's also a testament to the power of community, because I mean, I know that you guys haven't done ads, we haven't done paid promotion or any of that kind of thing. It's mostly we're doing organic content, organic podcasting, organic blogs, everything just to build a strong community.
If you wonder if our program for the thought leadership works, we are a testament to our own program. We sip our own Kool-Aid. We implement our own best practices and strategies. And we've grown now going on 3 years completely organically, haven't spent a single dollar in advertising. So that just goes to show you that the lessons we're teaching and the programming, the way it's formatted and designed, it really does work. And the community, the way the community is structured and the culture and the values really does facilitate the best possible outcomes.
All right, guys. I hope this interview was good. This is kind of funny, like flipping the script here.
Yeah, I like being on this side.
Yeah. Well, Nicole and Romi, as wonderful and amazing and naturals they are at this, because they really are getting out of their comfort zone. But they always get nervous with these episodes. And I told them, like, well, don't worry about this one, because now you get to be in the hot seat and I have to try and lead it and it's going to go well. But yeah, this is fun. And I'm looking forward to this new generation of the Daily Drip.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
We'll see you guys in our next episode of Her Pursuit.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Her Pursuit. You can catch a new episode every other Wednesday. Please don't forget to subscribe or follow so that you don't miss out on any of the good stuff.
We love bringing you free content and value to help inspire and motivate you. So if you enjoyed this episode, throw us a thumbs up, leave us a rating, a review, and send this to a friend who you think would enjoy it. Your support is so important to us, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. So thanks for listening. Talk to you in 2 weeks.